The CEOs of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America are getting ready to sue their own regulator for letting crypto companies become banks. 11 companies in 83 days. Meanwhile, the Fed just broke from global banking standards on tokenized securities, and DTCC, $3.7 quadrillion a year, wants to tokenize every security in its custody. The financial system is splitting in two. Let me break it down. So, the Bank Policy Institute, whose board includes Jamie Dimon, David Solomon, and Brian Moynihan, has retained outside legal counsel. They're weighing a lawsuit against the OCC, the federal agency that charters national banks. Why? Between December 12th and March 4th, 83 days, the OCC conditionally approved 11 crypto and fintech companies for national trust bank charters. Circle, Ripple, BitGo, Fidelity Digital Assets, Paxos, 5 approved in a single batch. Then Crypto.com, Bridge, a Stripe subsidiary, and Coinbase and World Liberty Financial, the Trump family crypto venture, still pending. Now, a national trust bank charter is a federal license to operate across all 50 states. One license, access to the Fed payment system, federal preemption of state laws. But you can't take FDIC-insured deposits or make loans. And you skip the Community Reinvestment Act. That is what's got banks furious. ABA President Rob Nichols says these approvals, quote, blur the lines of what constitutes a bank. The ICBA called it a, quote, dramatic policy change. And state bank supervisors from all 50 states called it a, quote, Franken charter, assembled from regulatory components not designed to work together. But here's the real story. The man running the OCC, Jonathan Gould, confirmed 50 to 45. Back in 2021, he authored Interpretive Letter 1176 as OCC Chief Counsel, which redefined trust bank activities to include crypto custody. Then he left, went to work at Bitfury, a crypto company, then Jones Day, and now he's back as comptroller, enforcing his own letter. Critics call that self-dealing, and Standard Chartered estimates stablecoin yield could redirect $1 trillion away from traditional bank deposits by 2028. This isn't academic. This is the biggest banks in America fighting what they see as a $1 trillion existential threat, wrapped in a federal charter. Okay, so before we get into the Fed's ruling, I want to hear from you. We just talked about the biggest banks in America potentially suing to stop crypto companies from getting bank charters. Do you think Ripple, Circle, and BitGo should be allowed to operate as national trust banks? Or is the banking lobby right that this is a Franken charter? Drop your take in the comments, because what the Fed just did might change the entire equation. Okay, so while banks are lawyering up, the Federal Reserve quietly dropped a ruling that could reshape tokenized assets globally. On March 5th, the Fed, FDIC, and OCC jointly said tokenized securities get exactly the same capital treatment as traditional equivalents. No premium, no penalty. Quote, the technologies used to issue and transact in a security do not generally impact its capital treatment. Here's why that's a bombshell. Under Basel International Banking Standards, which took effect January 1st, crypto assets on permissionless blockchains like Ethereum get a 1,250% risk weight, $12.50 in capital for every $1 of exposure, economically impossible. But the US said that distinction doesn't apply here. Quote, the capital rule does not provide a different treatment based on the use of permissioned or permissionless blockchains. Tokenized treasury on Ethereum or a private chain, same treatment. The US just broke from global Basel standards, giving American banks a direct competitive advantage over every bank in Europe, Asia, and the UK. And the political backstory matters. In January 2025, Fed Vice Chair Michael Barr, crypto's quote, debanker-in-chief, resigned before Trump could force him out. His replacement, Michelle Bowman, said, quote, we are at the beginning of a seismic shift in how we think about money, value, and the fabric of our financial system. She even suggested Fed employees should own some crypto, compared it to a ski instructor who's never put on skis. Now, skeptics raise real points. Smart contract exploits and key theft are risks capital buffers weren't designed for. And the day before this ruling, DTCC, Euroclear, and Clearstream warned tokenized securities face, quote, higher costs and split liquidity without interoperability standards. Capital rules cleared, but the infrastructure still being built. And that brings us to who's actually building those rails. DTCC processes $3.7 quadrillion in securities transactions annually, 99 trillion in custody, 1.4 million individual securities across 150 countries. Every stock, bond, or ETF you've ever bought in America, DTCC settled it. Their head of digital assets, Nadine Chakar, just laid out the vision in an interview with Markets Unchained. Chakar spent decades at State Street and BNY Mellon, built State Street Digital from scratch, then ran Securrency, a tokenization startup DTCC acquired for $50 million in 2023. Now she runs the entire digital strategy. Her quote says it all. Quote, we no longer think tokenization will lower costs and generate revenues. We know it will. And we aspire to tokenize all $100 trillion in custody. In December, DTCC got a landmark SEC no action letter for a 3-year pilot to tokenize DTC custodied assets. Russell 1000 stocks, treasuries, major ETFs. A week later, they partnered with Digital Asset and the Canton Network for treasury tokenization specifically. MVP first half of this year. Full rollout second half. They've built Composer X, a platform with a patented compliance-aware token framework, enforcing regulatory rules in real time. And their collateral app chain replaces settlement windows with 24/7 collateral movement. Now, Galaxy research analyst Fad Panekowicz put the contrarian view bluntly. Quote, DTCC is trying to avoid having their position usurped by co-opting the only tech that can feasibly threaten them. It runs on permissioned Hyperledger Besu, non-composable with public DeFi. And even DTCC's own white paper warns fragmentation across competing networks is, quote, one of the most pressing hurdles. But when the entity that settles 3.7 quadrillion a year says it's tokenizing everything, the SEC greenlights it, and the Fed clears capital rules, that's not a pilot. That's a new financial system being assembled in real time. So zoom out. Banks suing the OCC over 11 crypto charters in 83 days. The Fed breaking from Basel to treat tokenized securities the same on any blockchain. And DTCC building rails to tokenize 99 trillion in custody. These three stories happened in the same week. The regulatory infrastructure for tokenized finance isn't coming. It's here. The legal battles over who participates are just beginning, and the institutions that settle the actual money are already building the next system. The question isn't whether finance goes digital. That's done. The question is who controls the rails. If this helped you see what's being built behind the headlines, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Should crypto companies be allowed to become banks? I read every one. See you in the next one.